עכשיו אנחנו הולכים beginning with the framework of setting skill set support, כמו שהתחלנו אתמול. מתחילים מ-ceremonial preparation. אז הסריה הזאת של preparation, navigation and integration, זה כמו שדיברנו, זה ה-psychedelic experience as far as I'm concerned. ונתחיל מה הפרוטוקול של להתכונן ל-psychedelic therapy session. This is one of my favorite quotes by a religious scholar called Houston Smith. It's the challenge of transforming flashes of illumination into abiding light. וממש במשפט אחד זה לפי דעתי התאוריה של psychedelic integration. איך לוקחים את הניצוץ שראינו ב-psychedelic experience והופכים אותו לאור דלוק, אור חוצב להבות. So why do we need to do ceremonial preparation? So first off, it directly speaks to the three cornerstones of psychospiritual psychedelic therapy that we've mentioned in this presentation, which is to reduce risks, maximize safety, and amplify benefits. Let's remember that much out of happens in psychedelic states is for the most part really out of the psychonaut's hands. Pharmacologically, as soon as the psychedelic drug is ingested, there is really little, if any way at all, to intervene with the neurobiological effects, right? Because once you take the substance, the only way out is through. You can't really do much in the ways of stopping the experience. And there is really ultimately no telling of what the actual content will be like and what will be generated out of the person's psyche. And for the most part, really it is, and it should be left up to the inner healing intelligence. And this is a term that I like to use quite often, the inner healer, the inner wisdom that each of us have within us as being the ability to be our own shaman and our own healer. And what the beautiful part about psychedelics is that they remove all the stories, as we've mentioned, all the conditionings, all the cultural phenomena that we've kind of been raised with, and they leave us with our truth. So they quiet down all the stories and they allow the true voice of our higher self or our inner healer to lead the way. And really that we should all take into consideration that that's what we want to be guided by. But that said, it's not to say that we have to completely surrender to the experience. Okay, you know the whole idea about surrender, right? How everyone says you should surrender. And basically, surrender is glorified, I think, maybe a little bit too much, and really strips us of any self or personal agency that we might have in the experience. So what do I mean by that? That when we go into a psychedelic experience, אנחנו פשוט כאילו הולכים במחשבה שאנחנו צריכים להתמסר לזה לגמרי, ובלי שנוכל ממש לתמרן או לנווט את המסע, ופשוט צריך להגיד אמן לכל דבר שקורה. אני לא חושבת שזה נכון בכלל. It's half choice and half chance. חלק ממה שקורה באמת, we should listen. The other half, we actually have a lot of say in it, and it directly has to do with how we choose to engage with the medicine. And when we do that, we have, first of all, an improved chance of obtaining very specific results. And the preparation process, we have an opportunity to control the factors that we are able to control. So again, some things we're not able to control, like the pharmaceutical or the pharmacological aspect, but other things, the external conditions like the setting and the mindset and the skill set and support we can definitely do and should do. And basically we build, we bring order to the very chaotic experience. So it's up to us to bring this order into the experience. And then we have higher ability to navigate. We're feeling more confident. We have a much higher rate of self-agency. And also let's not forget that oftentimes, especially in the more challenging journeys, we're kind of like trying to just survive our way through the experience. But how about just learning to also have fun with it? To have fun, the psychedelic experience, it's like we're not supposed to enjoy it because the whole recreational context of it almost like cheapened the experience to make us think that we're not supposed to enjoy it. כי חס ושלום שנהנה ממשהו שהוא לא חוקי. אבל these experiences should be fun and should be blissful and should be filled with love and light. So we don't just want to survive, we also want to thrive within the experience. And the idea of preparation, again, it's like buying an insurance policy. But mamash minimizes, as I said yesterday, the whole idea of a bad trip or challenging experience by about 95%. So some strategies that we can work on in preparation is, first and foremost, the whole idea of the power of intention. Our life goes where our energy flows. When we begin preparing for the psychedelic experience, which is very, by the way, every medicine is very, I'm jumping here a little bit, the timeline differs per substance, meaning if you're going into an ibogaine experience, for example, which can have some ramifications on the body, maybe it's more taxing on the body than other psychedelics would be, then you might want to take more time to prepare for that than you would, for example, for maybe like a light dose of a psilocybin journey, for example. So it is dose dependent. Generally, it also depends on what your goals are, right? So if there is, again, usually trauma involved, heavier trauma, as opposed to more life skills or life goals, I would say maybe taking more time to integrate would be ideal. Probably about 2 months before would be a good ideal time frame, a minimum of 1 month. And oftentimes the clients ask me, well, you offer 4 sessions of preparation, can I do them in 2 weeks? Instead of every week, one session per week. And I say no, because it's not just about baking out the sessions, it's about giving yourself and your psyche ample time to condition, to prepare, to stew in your own juices, to stew in your energy, ממש לשבת עם כל הרגשות שצפים ולתת להם to already start working through you, because that's part of the experience already. As also with some plant, like ayahuasca, for example, also in the lineage, there's also the whole idea of dieta, and they really talk about the preparation phase as being or the dieta as being in relationship with the medicine, like you're already starting to be in relationship with the medicine. The diet is not just for the drug interactions or the food interactions, not at all. It's a spiritual practice, it's an energetic cleansing. It seals off your energy and also retains it, so the ayahuasca has more to work with. So there are different meanings to the preparation and also the timeline that one should take. But generally about 2 months and a minimum of 1 month is my rule of thumb. And intention in all of this really matters because, again, so if someone, for example, doesn't really care for the preparation phase, okay? They want to smoke DMT and they're going to smoke DMT tomorrow. That's totally fine, you can do that. DMT, NMDMT, the smokable kind, right? As opposed to the DMT that's in ayahuasca. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's, everyone knows what I'm talking about, by the way, NMDMT. Is it common here in Israel? Changa is one type, it's not.
Talking about free-based DMT.
Yeah, but smoking DMT, we have it.
Smokable, can. It's a medicine that's very popular in the U.S. It's not necessarily used in the terms of psychedelic therapy context, right? So it doesn't necessarily have the intention protocol behind it. There is not necessarily as deep of a relationship with the medicine in the moment as there is with perhaps ayahuasca, where there is a very strong guiding presence in the spirit that's like in the lineage that's backing up the experience. So maybe the intention with the DMT would be more momentary as opposed to like having to prepare for it for a while. But with the plant medicine specifically, I feel maybe more than the others, really building up to the experience and potentiating your energy so you can make more out of it. So intention, to prime the inner dialogue, and the relationship with the medicine that each of us can start, again, is the moment that we're feeling called to the medicine, then basically the medicine is calling you. This is the time to pick up the phone and say, okay, I'm ready. I want to ask, well, has everyone here experienced psychedelics? I think most of you have. No, not at all. No, mamash lo. Okay, those of you that have, maybe. How did you decide, those of you that have tried ayahuasca, how did you decide to try ayahuasca one day? What happened?
Curiosity.
Okay, how did it happen though, this curiosity? Did you read an article and say, I want to try it, or?
Yeah, I saw like movies in National Geographic, and I had a pen, and okay, maybe this will help, you know.
Okay, yeah, great. So you started basically hearing the signs all around you, right? Ayahuasca came into your peripheral vision, so you heard the message and you picked up the phone and you said, okay, I'm going to give it a try.
Even the phone came to me. I didn't pick it up.
Muhammad, okay?
Yeah.
ככה, משהו כזה?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. As from that moment, your relationship with ayahuasca already started. Some people hear the call quite a lot, and they're still like, I don't know, until something drastic happens in their life, and then they know that they want to do it. But when that happens, basically, what's your preparation strategy? Because you know that you're already in a dialogue with them, spiritually in dialogue. Maybe it's a good time to start setting your intentions for the journey, inviting the plant spirit in your meditations, or cultivating a meditation practice. And as you sit down in meditation every morning, call in the plant spirit and start asking it questions. The plant spirit is a being that will guide you in your ceremony, okay? Imagine that it's right here, right now in front of you. So some questions that you could ask it are, why are you here? What are you here to show me? What can I look forward to in the journey? What should I do right now to prepare to really meet you in the journey? And asking these questions in meditation and really listening and allowing them to come forth. And not just through meditation, this can also be done through dreams at night, which are also a type of psychedelic state. By definition, psychedelic states are dreams, and dreams are psychedelic states. And before you go to bed, you can ask the plant medicine a question, and then go to sleep, and then wake up in the morning and see what type of dreams you've had. And as you journal about them in your journal, you might notice that the plant is already delivering messages to you. So this is a really beautiful preparation strategy. So being in relationship with it, allowing it to guide you. Setting, skill set support, as we started talking about yesterday, already starting to prepare for those in the life pie, which I'm going to talk about in the next couple of slides. But first, let's do the inner space travel checklist. Okay, so what is it that we really have to prepare when we approach psychedelic therapy? The substance, first and foremost. Which substance is going to be used? How do you determine that? Depends on the person, depends on their goals, depends on the safety assessment that was had, right? Physical, psychological. Depends on personal experience, right? Some people like one particular medicine and maybe they want to stick with it, or on the contrary, they want to try something else. Also depends on other logistical things, like how much time do I actually have? You know, sometimes you want to maybe utilize a substance that's shorter acting. For example, MDMA versus San Pedro, 5 or 6 hours versus 10, 12 hours, right? So how much actual time do you have during the day? And also, what journey is it for you if you are following the protocol of the 3 treatments over the 6 months? So, for example, if you decided to start, if we're talking about a completely psychedelic naive person, oftentimes they like to either try with MDMA or psilocybin, because those seem to be the general go-tos in the beginning. So suppose they started with MDMA, they had a pretty good experience. Usually the first one, I wouldn't say it's the deepest one. Usually the first treatment is more to cultivate a relationship with an inner healer. And then they might feel that the second journey, they're ready to go deeper and they want to experience the guiding hand of the plant medicine, and have a more mystical experience. So they might opt to do the psilocybin. So after they determine the dose, you also want to, determine the substance, you want to determine the dose, also based on these different parameters. You obviously want to test your substance. If it's a chemical, you want to use a testing kit and procure it from a safe source. So the substance. The second one is the psychedelic explorer, who they are. Basically, there's their mindset, their skill set, again, which we haven't talked about yet. I know I keep talking about that, but do they have an optimal cognitive setting? Are they feeling prepared to do the work? Or do they have a surrender and a student attitude? Are they approaching it with a curious mindset, or with more of like an arrogant, cocky type of I'm going to try this, but I'm going to still call the shots and I'm going to try to control the experience. Basically, how ready are they for the transformation? Are they coming in humble? או שהם באמת נותנים לזה צ'אנס לעשות שינוי? או שהם כבר מגיעים עם כל התשובות, הם חושבים שיש להם את כל התשובות והם סתם רוצים לנסות? Do they have the skill set? Do they have the support? And also on an actual like day-to-day level, כשהם מגיעים לסשן, are they well rested? Are they well nourished? Did they have tons of caffeine just before? Are they arriving with an empty stomach? Have they had breakfast? Stuff like that needs to be taken into consideration because it will affect the journey. It's always best to, generally speaking, to arrive with a semi-empty, unless we're following ayahuasca, for example, which has, again, what Ben talked about earlier, its own protocol. But for most psychedelic trips, have a very light breakfast, and then at least don't eat at least 2 hours before the actual ingestion. So it will work better and you will feel the effects more. If you arrive on a very full stomach, it will blunt the effects of the medicine. So an empty stomach is best. And also the session space, right? So we want the session space to be closed and quiet and permissive, really to be a permissive, safe space. Permissive, שלבן אדם יהיה רשות to go batshit crazy basically, without them feeling conscious about themselves, without feeling self-conscious, and where they feel safe to do so. Should be bathroom accessible, maybe nature accessible. If usually psychedelic, we're talking about classic psychedelic therapy sessions. Like here we have the Johns Hopkins psilocybin assisted psychotherapy where you see the room is pretty standard. They have the bed, they have the playlist, they have the mushroom lamp in the background that always talks about. But if you're doing it like at an underground therapist or if you're doing it at your house, does it have access to a backyard? Can you go out in nature and enjoy the trees and walk on the lawn a little bit, or are you just going to stay enclosed all day? So that makes a difference as well. You obviously want to have your bed and couch and pillows and a blanket. Eye shades. I feel it could be helpful for maybe half the journey. I actually don't believe that a person has to completely lay still for 8 hours and just be within the entire time. I actually feel like there can be a lot of healing and movement and in play and dance and creating art. So I would say maybe 50% of going with it and maybe the other 50 kind of hanging out with themselves and maybe speaking with a therapist, because if there is one, right? Or the sitter or the friend.
Depends on the substance, no? And
of course, it depends on the substance.
I mean, if it's a high dose, if it's a high dose mushrooms, there is not, I think, much playfulness.
Sure there is.
I don't think that's true.
Sure there is.
Yeah.
5 gram mushrooms and
I think it really depends on the person. It depends on the substance. It depends on the dose. Yeah, but every person is different. I think also that because a lot of wounding happens through relationships, then a lot of healing also comes in relationships, and that's where the value of a trained person, not necessarily a licensed psychotherapist, but like a trained medicine person, can really come in handy. Because if you have, wounded mother issues, and then your therapist happens to be a female, and she sees you in a moment of need, and she kind of embraces you and gives you that hug that your mom was never able to give you, then that can heal your mother wound, which you would not be able to do if you didn't have that mother figure there at the moment. So having those surroundings. Also, it's really nice to just have flowers in the area and just have some live space. Music, obviously, and the music, really recommended to have it be instrumental. Okay? Not a lot of בלי הרבה מלל, ואם יש מלל אז שזה לא יהיה בשפה שמבינים, כי זה אז מכניס כל מיני רעיונות למוח שאנחנו לא רוצים. We really want to use the music as the carrier of the energetic wavelength. Okay? That's really what the music does. So to heighten the experience and to really make it emotionally evocative. ובדרך כלל הגל של המוזיקה הוא בנוי בצורה כזאת, הוא בנוי לפחות, if you're using a playlist, which you can do, not necessary. You can also use, of course, live instruments. You can also have periods of silence. You can also read poetry. You can also sing to yourself. But you can, the trajectory that typically that they do with playlists at these research clinical sessions begins with like a meditative state. Then they go into a more uplifting for like the ascension of the medicine. When the medicine starts coming on, it becomes more upbeat. Then at the peak, usually it becomes very dramatic. Usually a lot of drums, a lot of banging. Then it becomes more soothing and then very gentle. So the music itself kind of ascends, peaks, and then goes down along with the wave of the medicine as well. And some typical genres can be like world music, shamanic drumming. Electronic can be good for some substances. I find that with MDMA, maybe it works better than others, but not necessarily with psilocybin, for example. Like the plants, like more earthy vibes. New Age is good, chanting is good, singing bowls. And by the way, on Spotify, there are tons. Do you guys have Spotify here? Yesh maleh psychedelic playlists on Spotify. If you go on my website, I think you'll find one of them. I have my own playlist there, ותוכלו למצוא אותה בוובסייט שלי.
עכשיו פסייקדליק מיוזיק ייקח אותך לפינק פלויד וכאלה, ונראה לי שפה אנחנו מדברים יותר על...
לא, יש psychedelic playlists.
אוקיי.
Yeah, ממש playlists שהם מורכבים מכל מיני, כל הז'אנרס שעכשיו דיברתי עליהם.
מה אתה עכשיו
psychedelicintegrationcoach.com. Nature Sounds, גם מאוד עובד יפה. קיצור, המוזיקה היא מאוד חשובה. And the whole idea of intention setting, now I'm coming back to the intentions from a different point of view. Intention setting for the session itself, okay? And this is probably one of the most powerful tools to obtain results, and if a person is going in specifically with healing intentions, right? Remember, I'm talking about psychedelic therapy sessions. So, number one, list 3 goals for your journey. What are these goals? They can be anything from, I want to find my voice, I want to heal my past, I want to find my purpose. Then after you list these 3 goals, you look at that list and you pick out one word that stands out the most, that best represents that sentence. So for example, what did I have? Find my voice, so maybe it would be voice. Heal my past, maybe heal. And then the last one was find my purpose, so purpose. So voice, heal, purpose. Voice, heal, purpose. And basically those 3 words, which are your intentions and your goals that you're hoping to achieve through the session. And I'm saying hoping to achieve, not that you're going to achieve hell or high water. Not expectations, but intentions. And the difference is this. Intentions, you're setting a goal, you're releasing any expectations of how these goals will be met. When we expect something, we're really working with our sensible right mind. כאילו, המיינד שלנו אומר לנו, ככה זה צריך להיות, אבל מאיפה המיינד שלנו עובד? Only from the 5% of consciousness that we talked about last night, right? But if we let go of how these intentions will be met, אנחנו מרשים לspirit, להheart, לפsyche to figure out the work for us, and then the results will come, or the way will come from the 95%. The ways that we don't know, all the miracles that we're not even aware of that can happen. So set your intentions, and then basically when you took these 3 words, you've just formulated yourself a mantra for your journey. And you go in with that mantra into your journey, and first of all, when you take the medicine, you repeat that mantra to yourself with your breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, voice, heal, heal, and so forth. And that's how you meditate into this session. And again, you're focusing and you're basically sending a message to your psyche that this is what you're hoping to meet today. And throughout the journey, you keep using that mantra as a navigation skill, a very powerful navigation skill. Every time you get lost, you feel confused, you have ruminating thoughts, המוח לא מפסיק לפטפט, יש לך קולות בראש, feeling scared, don't know why you're here, what are you doing, feel like you're going crazy, you always go back to your mantra and your breath and you refocus that energy and you collect yourself. So that this mantra is probably one of the most powerful tools of psychedelic navigation.
Can you give example of mantra?
Yeah, I just said voice. You said your intentions, right?
Yeah,
no matter
that's
what they
true.
are. Yeah. And it could also be one word. There's something about the number 3. It's a very spiritual number. I like to use that number, of course, set as many as you want.
But you can pick 3 purposes for one session?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then 3 words?
Yeah, and then can you extract a word out of each sentence that represents something meaningful to you? That represents the essence of each goal. והנה משהו כל כך מעניין פה, ממה שראיתי עד עכשיו, אוקיי? ואין על זה שום מחקר מדעי, הוכחות, אין לי כאלה דברים. ממה שאני ראיתי, somehow, אין לי מושג איך. תמיד, ה-intentions האלה, they always get met. לא יודעת איך, זה קורה. תמיד. בדרך לא דרך. אז this is my favorite tool that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so intention setting for the journey. Okay, a little bit about כן, סליחה. כן. מתחיל איתך, רק שנייה.
Through the session, you don't want to let go of the intention?
You don't want to what?
Let go of this intention?
You will let go naturally.
You want to...
You will let go naturally. You will, this is more of a centering tool. זה לא שאתה מחזיק בזה בכוח. אם אתה מחזיק בזה בכוח, אז לא, אז זה expectation כבר. That's when you need to release it.
More like help, you say. It's like your help, if you need help or something. Safety.
It's a safety word, it's a centering technique. Centering, ממש כאילו להתמרכז, להתפקס. ובדרך כלל שחוזרים על זה כמה פעמים, it becomes so repetitive that you get lost into something else. זה לא נהוג בדרך כלל שאתה רק כל הזמן חושב על זה. כן, אבל it's a very powerful tool. סליחה, כן, היה לך פה יד.
כן, maybe it's a bit too particular, but do you have any insights about the language that you use in the mantras or in the
Yes.
session itself? If you're a Hebrew speaker naturally, if you have to communicate in English, it's another filter that you have to maybe go through.
Good question. Okay, אז קודם כל, אז הדבר הראשון ששמעתי בשאלה שלך, what kind of language to use for the intentions, what came up for me when you said that was actually the language that you do use for your intention is very powerful, because if you think as language is a magic spell, which it is, okay, basically everything that comes out of our mouth is a thought that became manifest in this lifetime. Knowing that, understanding that how much power our words have, and as power is intention, again we keep going back to this word intention that I cannot emphasize enough. Because we know that we always want to formulate our goals in a positive way, like it's already happened. For example, if I want to heal my body, I will actually focus on turning it into abundant health or robust health. כאילו זה כבר קרה וזה התוצאה שאני רוצה להשיג. Okay, not necessarily on the action, ואני באמת, אני לא דייקתי את המילים שלי קודם, אבל עכשיו ששאלת את השאלה, as I wouldn't say heal my body, I would concentrate on what I want to achieve, which is I want abundant health, as a goal שלי abundant health. אז במובן הזה כן יש חשיבות לשפה, במובן של עם עברית לאנגלית לא חשבתי על זה ולא נראה לי. כן.
What if someone, I sometimes feel it with some of my patients, they say that they're completely blocked or empty, like they can't find any kind of intention, not even a general one, and you don't want to put your own
Not having an intention is an intention all on its own. You don't force anything.
Just a journey? Or...
Can, to trust. Trust. Be present. Stay curious. לא חייב תמיד שזה יהיה דברים, it's very person dependent. Some people, who are coming with depression, they don't know how to phrase things in a positive way. Because הם שכחו כבר מה זה, אז באמת מה הם יגידו? אז הם רק באים ואוקיי, I want to heal. הם לא יודעים what it means, how it's going to happen, they want to heal, and that's fine. So whatever the level of the person is, that's where we're at. אנחנו אף פעם לא שמים להם מילים בפה. לפעמים באמת הלקוחות שלי שואלים, יש לי ככה וככה וככה, ואני עוזרת להם לתמלל את זה אולי למילה אחת. אני כאילו, I rephrase it a few times until they find something that catches, that כאילו משהו שנשמע להם נכון, ואז הם לוקחים את זה, אבל לא מאכילה אותם בכפית, ממש לא. בסליידס האלה פה יש לי את remember the life pie that we always keep going back to, okay? As here are some preparation strategies basically about all the different aspects of the life pie. And here we have first and foremost the mental pie, or our thinking mind. And basically this list that you see here, and all the next slides in fact, are a breakdown of what the mental aspect can look like in psychedelic states. So when we say, okay, when the mental aspect of my life can come up in psychedelics, what would it look like? Well, it could look like my ego dying. It could look like a change of identity. It could look like I can see all the different personas in my psyche that are operating within me and are making me behave the way that I do. It could be stories that I have about myself, stories that I have about other people, judgments that I have about other people, becoming aware of different habits that I have no idea about, and also the way I manage myself and just going about life. So these are all mental processes, and these can all come up in psychedelic journeys. And the idea in preparation for them, when you do the preparation work with yourself or with clients, the life pie is a very useful tool because, again, remember the whole idea of integration is bringing structure to something that doesn't really have structure. So if, for example, this client keeps talking about, in your preparation, they keep talking about this experience that they had with, I don't know, their boss, and how their boss keeps, they keep putting them down, and they don't feel like they're really doing well at work, and they're going to get fired, and they're going to get fired, and they're not good workers, and basically they have this negative loop thought around their job, and it's your role as their integration support provider to point that out, to say, hey, I'm really noticing that you're really talking about your job a lot, and you have maybe some type of an issue with your boss, and you're really ruminating about it a lot. So what's going on? So I would point that out, and then in my preparation, basically I would, in pointing it out, they can choose to maybe meditate on it a little bit more and decide if it's something that really bothers them so much in their lives, if they really want to focus on it in their psychedelic session. So when it comes up, if it comes up in the psychedelic session, they will be ready. If it's something that's big enough in their life and really bothers them. So the idea is to bring awareness to all these different mental processes. And then in the same way, we have the emotional processes, right? So specifically emotions, which psychedelic work is, if I could choose to describe it in one way, is that it's all energy work, energy and emotional work. And emotions, right, feelings, emotions are basically, if you break down the word, it's energy and motion. If we look at feelings as waves of energy that wash through us, not something that happens to us, not something that we are. Like, we're not depressed, we're feeling depressed. We're not angry, we're feeling anger, right? So we are not the energy, we are not the emotion. And basically working on emotional labeling, working on how emotions or the energy of the emotions get trapped in the body and somatic, and how they manifest in the body through all different somatic conditions, working on core feelings a lot, ideas of forgiveness and compassion and love. These are all emotional themes that come up quite often in psychedelic sessions. So again, in our preparation sessions that we do with our clients or within ourselves, we start noticing, for example, that we have some type of sensation in the shoulder, for instance, right? And this keeps coming up a lot, that I've had this shoulder issue that just doesn't get resolved. And then the more I talk about it with my therapist, my client, my integration provider, every time I sit in the session with them, then the idea of the shoulder comes up. I'm giving an idea of like myself. So I used to have, let me tell you about myself, sorry. I still do sometimes a lot of shoulder pain. Different stories. And one of the last sessions that I did, this whole idea of the shoulder pain came up, and I was working with a somatic therapist to do some integration work. And what came up in the process as she was working on me, I literally had a type of a vision where I went to my childhood and saw my mom grabbing me by the arm and pulling me by the arm and like punishing me constantly, and that's how I had the sensation in my shoulder. So, and all the feelings that came from that, of feeling abandoned, feeling punished, feeling bullied by my parents, not feeling heard, stuff like that. So these are all emotions that get trapped in the body. There are a lot of books about, are you guys familiar with trauma work in the body? A lot of books are on that topic. There's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bissell van der Kolk, and also Peter Levine, who wrote quite a few books about it. So working with feelings around the body's issues and traumas and early childhood development comes up maybe 95% of the time, if not 99, if not 100% of the time. That has a lot to do with psychedelic work, and also a lot of wounded and inner child and reparenting issues. And this core doesn't necessarily get addressed in the preparation sessions, but usually is revealed in the sessions themselves. But as you prepare for upcoming journeys, then this is actually a topic that comes up a lot in the Life Pi. So anyhow, just bringing awareness to these different emotional integration strategies. Relationships, of course, we mentioned earlier that a lot of wounding and healing comes from relationships. We always want to work on the idea of differentiation, individuation of ourselves from maybe the family, from primary caregivers where we don't have proper attachment styles with them. For a lot of people, it's also learning how to become the change agent in their family or in their community. A lot of people that come to psychedelic work are kind of, they're like the pioneers in their family, and they're drawn to psychedelic work because they want to heal themselves, and then they do all this work on themselves and they come back home to their families, and basically the family gets a new person. So now the whole family dynamic changes, and this person has to start educating their surroundings about what they've done, and they start changing others as well. So preparing people in your preparation that this can happen to them, and what does this mean about their life? They're basically about to take on a whole new role in their relationships and with their family. The issue of boundaries comes up a lot. Again, emotional boundaries, vulnerability, authenticity, self-expression, and also partnerships. A lot of people that come in with into the psycho-spiritual work, when they're in partnership, if the partner is not doing the work as well, then very quickly they find out that the relationship is not sustainable, because one person is just growing at such a rapid growth rate and the other person is left behind, and it's just, they understand that maybe they have to start parting ways. And relationship integration is probably one of the hardest aspects to integrate, because you have to start letting go of a lot of relationships that you realize are no longer serving you, and it's painful.
Sometimes when one is doing the job, it's for the both also. Can be.
If the other person is open to it. They're not always open to it. Oftentimes they'll be suspicious. They'll start questioning the other person. Why do they want to change? Not everyone wants to change. A lot of people feel comfortable where they are, or they just don't want to. It's too painful for them to admit that they want to move forward, or they don't know how. So, yeah. Physical preparation, working a lot on the idea of the mind-body connection, preparing the neurochemistry. A lot of people that take supplements, they might have to stop them, or some people actually start taking more supplements in preparation for journeys, like lion's mane, like niacin, for psilocybin. If there are any medical conditions, obviously they have to be addressed. If there are any pharmaceutical medications, obviously they have to be addressed. If the person is addicted to anything, they might have to detox in preparation for the journey. Obviously worry about the diet or the dieta and nourishing their bodies properly, and also building up a lot of strength and endurance. Spiritual preparation depends. If the person, I'm going to talk about the US, a lot of people come from Catholic families, with all the collective trauma of the Catholic families, and all the sins and all the guilt and all the shame that they carry. And to them, understanding that they're walking into a spiritual experience that's probably going to undermine everything they know about God. They might need special work around that. So providing them with resources that help them think outside of the box, have them look at Buddhist texts, have them read Osho, right? So different preparation strategies for that, working a lot on mindfulness and awareness because it's such a big part of integration. The idea of embodying the highest self as an archetype, that psychedelic work, again, allows you to see all the different archetypes that are operating within you and teaching you how to embody your truth and not just your ego all the time or not just your wounded child all the time. Working on life purpose, this is a big one. A lot of people do approach this work because they're feeling lost. They feel like, I've done everything I could in life, I've made tons of money, I have this family, I have this job, I'm not happy. What am I doing wrong? I don't know what my purpose is, I want to break through. So really working on them and trying to understand what were the steps that they've taken so far. Who have they really listened to throughout their life? Was it their inner truth or someone else's truth? The desire to be of service comes up a lot in psychedelic healing. After you've seen the light, you want everyone to see the light. You want to help everyone heal, right? So what does that mean in the aftermath? And yeah, like what's your idea of service? And interconnectedness. A lot of psychedelic work is to show us that we're not isolated, we're not separate. So how do we come back together? How do we become more vulnerable with each other and help each other? Homework and lifestyle. Other preparation strategies. Obviously you want to work, so basically if you're going into a psychedelic journey, you really want to get all your to-do lists out of the way so you don't take them into the psychedelic trip with you. You're going to be laying there and trying to say your mantras and then going through your laundry list. I have to call this person, I have to send this email, I have to do this thing for my work. So just practically, you want to really just do all the tasks that you can do so you can approach the journey with a clear mind and head as much as possible. And just take care of any things in the house that, for example, you want to have a hot meal after your journey, have that ready for you so you don't go scrambling for a pizza after you've just met God in a beautiful journey, right? So have a good meal prepared, coming back into a safe environment. The idea of relocation and profession being of service, as we talked about earlier, and purpose and passions and hobbies, these are oftentimes long-term goals that people have that they just don't know how to embody. And this takes a lot of habit changing in the post-journey integration phase. So already starting to just put the pieces in front of them and ask them potent questions about their life. Basically, again, we want to bring awareness to these things that they want to change. Again, what work are you doing? What do you like to do in your spare time? Do you do anything else aside from work? How do you like to play? Who are the people that you feel most comfortable, that you feel like you are yourself with most often? Who can you be yourself with? So these are questions that you can ask to really understand what their core essence is like, what their truth is like, drawing out their truth. The idea of creativity and play, encouraging people to play, believe it or not, is really hard. It should be easy, but it's not. People we function in a Western society. We have busy lives, we have families to take care of. Obviously, we have work, we have to pay the bills. We really don't leave much room to just enjoy ourselves. We don't leave much room to just sit down and read a good book, or just go for a walk without having to be a workout or go exercising. Just walk for the fun of it. Go play basketball in the park. Just go kick a ball in the park. My husband and I did that the other day with our daughter. We're both like, this was actually so much fun. I don't remember the last time I kicked a ball just for fun, but just really playing. But it's really through play that we learn to recreate ourselves, and play is a vital stage in psychedelic integration as well. And if you talk about this with your clients for the first time, they'll often be kind of startled. What do you mean I have to play? What does that even look like? I don't even know what that is. So talking about that, encouraging them to do that. Working on any personal goals, and also really, again, encouraging them to find their truth throughout this journey, which is really, that's what it's about, living our truth. Any questions about preparation so far? Okay. But just to summarize the idea of preparation, again, it's bringing awareness around potential topics that can come up in the journey according to the person's goals. Again, what do they want to achieve? And it's our role, if we're professionals working in this field, or if we're individuals supporting ourselves, going through all these lists and just highlighting what seems pertinent to us can be really helpful. Because again, you're putting intention to the journey. You're already conditioning the journey. Sending a message to your psyche.
Sure. I
Okay.
have a question.
Okay.
Do you offer this preparation and integration also to people that you don't like therapeutically need for a
Yeah.
because this like, it seems like, you know, like a tool that anybody that goes into a psychedelic experience, even in a ceremony, or it's like it just seems like something good to have. There's so many people
agree.
like walking out there that just came out of ceremonies or like even festivals and are like having, you know, the hard time to land.
I agree. I created this online course with not just like this information times 4 or 5. This is an extract of my course, basically. So yeah, so that the information is available. Yeah. Navigation skills. Okay. So again, remember this is literally just a small part of the skill set, but it'll definitely give you a lot of good tools. Relax, nothing is under control. Okay, this is how we do the psychedelic journey. Okay. כן, פשוט מאוד. אבל עוד פעם, אם אנחנו כן יכולים לשלוט במשהו, and we can, okay, I just want to emphasize, the idea is not to completely control everything, it's to find the balance between that which we can control and should control, and that which we cannot and should not control. And this takes practice, and again, you can basically look at this skill set and just pick out the few strategies that speak out to you the most, and apply them, and if they work for you, you can keep using them, or if they don't work for you, try out other ones, and basically pick out your formula for each journey depending on your goals. This is just let's see, why did I put this here? I consider myself a Jungian. I really follow Carl Jung's psychology theory, because I believe it's completely pertinent to I've built my whole integration philosophy around Carl Jung. And basically Carl Jung talked a lot about the different archetypes that we have in our personality. And this is also, to me, the mandala of psychedelic states as well. So we have a connection with the outer physical world as well as with the inner spiritual world. We get a glimpse into the individual consciousness and the collective consciousness. We get a glimpse into the shadow, the unconscious, our personal self, our highest self, which is God, this is what we want to view, and this is what we want to embody. Most of us, many of us, if not all of us, are constantly circling around this archetype. And the ego basically hijacks all the other archetypes and makes us think that this is the focal point of everything we are, and this is everything we are. But we are all of this, and psychedelics give us a glimpse of all of this. So the navigation skill set will help us navigate all of this.
Is this a Jungian word, by the way?
The
Spiritual?
mandala,
Is that word that he uses? Spiritual?
he does use spiritual. I added these words specifically. This is his mandala, but I added these words. But he does talk about spirituality. In fact, he was often considered to be a modern day shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I recognize collective unconscious as some of them, but I never saw the inner spiritual world in
Yeah.
his theory. So
Yeah. He doesn't make it like a formal part of his theory, like the personal and the individual and the collective, but again, the word psyche is spirit, so definitely spiritual. Okay, so why do we need this skill set that we keep talking about? So number 1, to amplify personal agency, resilience, and endurance. Having a skill set helps us make it through the session עם הרבה כוח, עם הרבה אנרגיה, עוזר לנו מאוד לצלול מאוד עמוק, עוזר לנו לדעת להבחין בין דברים שאנחנו צריכים לעשות איתם אינטראקציה ועדיף שלא נעשה איתם אינטראקציה, עוזר לנו לשמור על פוקוס, expanded depth and breadth exploration capacity, עוד פעם אפשר לצלול ואפשר ללכת לרוחב הרבה, במקום להישאר on a surface level. הרבה פעמים אנשים אומרים, it wasn't deep enough, nothing much happened. It can have many explanations, and I think someone here asked about that. Was it yesterday? And my answer to that would be, it could be that you just didn't really know how to maneuver your way through going deeper. And there are ways to either deepen your journey or to back off if it feels like you're in very deep and you really just want to take a breath. So there are tools for that as well. Definitely you can increase your therapeutic properties. You can attain more healing. You have a deeper dialogue with the medicine. It keeps you more engaged. You can get more joy out of the experience. ומה שהכי מדהים שלמעשה this skill set, because the psychedelic experience, if we think about it, it's really a microcosm of our human life. Except it's just super condensed. We can live 10 lifetimes in 2 hours. But what happens in the experience itself, you know, we have to interact with different beings, we have these different thoughts, we have these different emotions, we have to manage ourselves through challenging moments. All these things happen in real life as well. So the skill set is really a toolkit that you can use not just in the psychedelic journey, but every day, the ceremony of everyday life. And really the more that we do this work, the more we realize that the veil is very thin. There's no difference between this and that. It's all the same thing. It's just different dimensions, different views of time and space, but there's no past, present, or future. It's all happening all the time. And if we really condition ourselves to see that, then we'll see that we're all really living a psychedelic reality at all times. So use this skill set at all times, basically. What else does it do? Oh, okay. So, what is this? Okay. So these are some of the, awareness and, it amplifies awareness and presence, centers through the loss of ego. That's another benefit. Basically, remember how we talked earlier about people who have borderline or who suffer from borderline personality disorders, שאין להם גבולות, and they don't have a strong ego identity, basically. So they get lost. So if we apply that to all of us, where we, in psychedelic states, we really relinquish the control of the ego, and we're able to navigate the different areas of our psyche, then losing the ego can be really, this is probably one of the biggest challenges of psychedelic spaces, right? Wouldn't you agree? When you don't know who you are, sometimes don't know what your name is, you don't know if you're sleeping, awake, or dreaming. You don't know if you think you're going crazy, and you don't know who's seeing you going crazy, and if you're really, everything that you're seeing inside of if you're really acting it out, right? You completely lose touch with reality, you hope for the best. But for some people, when the ego is really trying to fight, it resists, and it's trying to fight its own death, basically that suffering, having this navigation skill set helps us remain centered, but not from the ego point of view, but from the observer's point of view. So you allow the ego to do its thing, but you're not the ego anymore. You kind of move back, and you have this new vantage point, which is your highest self, and you're able to see all the different archetypes at play. So you can see the ego dying, and that can be hard, but you're staying centered, and that's because of your navigation skill set. So you're just assuming a different role. You're still there, but you're assuming a different role. And from this new vantage point, you're also able to discover more content. That's what's cool. Because you're no longer just having this very minuscule, myopic, כאילו ראייה מאוד מפוקסת וקטנה של האגו, but because you're moving back, again, you're zooming out, you're able to see a lot more content and get more insights. And again, help you cope with challenges better. And also get back to earth when it's time to do so. So again, these are just, I listed here the benefits of the skill set. So here's one skill set. I call this observing and regulating emotions. Because the psychedelic journey... Ken? סליחה, כן.
It's really difficult for me to follow whether you're talking to us as therapists
מלווים,
כן.
or as people actually going through the journey.
Okay.
Keep going back and forth and
I am. You're right. I am doing that because I believe that this skill set is good for both
for both.
people. Myself as an individual and myself as a therapist. Absolutely. So as a therapist, what I would urge you to do is study this skill set that you can choose to pass to your clients and teach them this in the preparation. So basically, depending on their condition, you can articulate to them what could be useful to them. And as a journeyer for yourself, you can decide what would be good for yourself. Okay?
Do you have maybe examples of what you said before, tools that can make you go deeper or less?
Yeah, I'm starting to talk. Yeah, basically that's what we're doing now. Yeah, but the two previous slides were more like an overview. Now we're doing the tachlis, okay? So one of them is emotional regulation. What's a psychedelic experience? It's emotions, right? It's the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual, basically, right? So we have all these different components in the mind. So now we're doing the emotions. So one strategy is to follow your emotions. What does that mean? We talked about emotions being energy in motion. Sometimes we're feeling something, but we don't know what we're feeling. Now I want to invite everyone, whether you've had a psychedelic trip previously or you've never had a psychedelic trip, just to sit in right now in a meditation and take a deep breath. And wherever you are, just start noticing any feelings, if you have any feelings. Now, off the bat, I will speak for myself. I'm feeling, first of all, short of breath, which is a physical issue, but I'm also feeling a little bit of tightness and anxiety in my chest area. Or at least I think it's anxiety, I'm not sure. But whatever it is I'm feeling a lot of energy in my chest area. So I'm going to sit with it for a little bit. And again, I'm imagining that I'm in a psychedelic session right now. And just noticing this tightness in my chest area. And sitting with it, and sitting with it. And now I feel like the more I listen in, I feel like my heart is pounding even more. And I'm noticing the energy grow more and more, like my chest is about to explode. I'm going to keep sitting with it. And now I'm seeing that there's no room in my chest, but now I'm seeing the energy starting to go down like a snake into my belly area, very slowly, but I'm seeing it go down. Now it's going into my belly. So basically, what I did right now, okay, I'm going to stop. I basically followed the energy of my feeling, followed the energy, right? Energy in motion. Started here with anxiety, expanded from the tightness, then started going down into my belly, and then it was about to lead me somewhere kind of deep in my belly, and then I chose to stop it. So I followed the energy, and I'm sure if I would have stayed with it a little bit, it would have led me to the source of my anxiety. Okay, so that's one technique of following the emotions, basically sitting with the feeling and allowing it to guide you by remaining focused on it and just observing it. Not being it, but just observing it. And then the next one would be to make them bigger. Now what do I mean by that? It could be that if I'm like a young psychonaut, meaning a person that's just starting out, which I was until not too long ago, I was a person that was just starting out and I didn't know any of this, okay? For example, I would sit in an ayahuasca ceremony. The nausea. What do you do when you're young in the ayahuasca journey? Oh, you're just dying from the nausea. You can't sit still, you're getting water, you're looking around, you're just like, לא מוצאת את עצמך, בא לך למות, רק כל הזמן סובלת. Instead of taking a moment to just take a deep breath and listen, right? If we sit with the nausea for a moment, and we just allow ourselves to become as nauseous as possible, what would happen? Basically, we're not resisting it, we're allowing it to consume us, and probably what would happen is we would purge. We would allow ourselves to purge, to vomit, and then whatever we were holding back would come out, and then the energy would be released, and it would lead us somewhere deep. okay? So the idea is not to block the emotion, not to shy away from it, but to allow it to become bigger and bigger. So if I'm feeling anger, I don't want to just kind of, okay, so I'm feeling angry, I don't want to go there, I don't want to go there, I don't want to push it out, but I'm going to sit there and with my new observer's point of view say, okay, I'm seeing that I'm angry, it's really uncomfortable, I hate this, I'm angry, and just becoming more angry by the minute, and then suddenly the anger turns into tears because I'm so angry, and then there is some type of an emotional release, and with this emotional release, I get flooded with some memory from my past, from my childhood when I was really angry.
זה לא מסוכן אם יש חרדה ואז כזה, אני ממש מפחיד פה, כאילו זה כאילו לא מתגבר כזה, כאילו עד רמת אי נוחות.
צריך לעבור דרך זה,
Can lead to drama. קשה.
It leads to drama, but the observer's muscle, it's a muscle that you just need to practice. Yeah, of course, in the beginning you might panic. וזה בסדר, אם אתה לא בן אדם שממש סובל מחרדות. לא מדברת על PTSD כבד, שזה באמת לך, which can potentially re-traumatize you. I'm not talking about that. But in the average person, okay, if there's an anxiety, it's not necessarily bad. You learn how to recognize the fear, which I'm going to talk about very soon because fear is actually an amazing strategy, okay? But learn how to work with it. Like, allow it to consume you without completely getting lost in it because you have this new meditator's, observer's point of view. And then, yeah, you move through it. You make it bigger and you move through it. This is something I learned directly from Stan Groff. You make it bigger, okay? So that's another strategy. Don't shy away from the feeling, allow it to be bigger. Masha, by the way.
זה 20?
13.
Ma? Okay. Okay, okay. Don't categorize feelings as good or bad. כל הקטע that we have judgments against our feelings. Why are feelings so bad? תגידו לי. They're uncomfortable, okay. No one wants to be sad, no one wants to be angry. נכון? אף אחד לא רוצה להיות עצבני. But they're not bad feelings. Sometimes we say, oh, these feelings are bad. Nothing is good or bad. Feelings are just are. Mind the relationship to your feelings. Again, this is all about remaining an observer. And basically imagine that you're becoming some type of an energetic channel to all these emotions and all these feelings. And you can do this literally just by sitting and observing the feelings coming up. And in the moment of truth, when you're about to be consumed by the feeling and you're about to lose it into anxiety, you can choose either to make it bigger or to remain centered and literally imagine that you're a channel and you have this massive energetic, some type of emotion that's wanting to come out of you. So that's a very acute strategy as well. And basically let them pass through. And this is again for everyday life because that's what we are. We're vessels to the universal flow, the universal energy. And that's what we want to practice in the psychedelic journeys. And it's a little bit more difficult in the psychedelic journeys because the energy is so condensed, it's so intense, and we feel like we're literally about to lose it or explode. ממש, especially by ayahuasca, להקים מפה, להקים משם, מה יישאר מאיתנו, נתפוצץ לגמרי. As to remain centered and allow the energy to move through. Okay, so that's the emotions. Next, okay. Regulating the mind. Now we're going to the cognitive. One strategy is let the thought train roll on. What does this mean? When we're in the observer's point of view in the journey, again, I'm sitting in the psychedelic journey, I have my mantra that I can keep going to, and then eventually the thoughts will start coming. ככה זה קורה. Our monkey brain פשוט יתחיל...
You practice mindfulness.
Absolutely. בדיוק. So this is a breakdown of mindfulness. לא לעלות על הרכבת של ה-thoughts, just have it flow, watch the story like a movie. Again, don't become the movie. לפעמים זה, again, it consumes us a lot, but just imagine that you're literally sitting in a movie theater and watching some type of a movie that you're about your life. And that really helps remain more centered and differentiate the story from your story and let go of the need to make sense. Oftentimes we're sitting there, we're thinking, oh my God, what does this mean? What does this mean about my life? What does this mean about, like, we're trying to rationalize things. Every time we try to understand something, our mind goes to work. So the idea is, when you notice that if we want to try to make sense of something, to catch it in the mindfulness and to take a deep breath, go back to the mantra, and that's how you turn off the mind. That's also about watching the ruminating thoughts and voices. And the moment that you notice that you're trying too hard, again, sometimes, and someone here said, how to not really just be focused on the mantra, right? I think you said that. If you're noticing at a certain point that sometimes you just like won't stop repeating the mantra to the point where you're like trying to control the journey, if you're noticing that, again, that's a mindfulness exercise, take a deep breath and start listening to the music. What does this do? The music takes you away from your thoughts, and then the music will carry you back into your body. Okay, so these are strategies for mind regulation. And then finally, the body. Remember, you're getting in touch with your inner healer. A great strategy is to do body scans. This is one of my favorites. So basically, this can be practiced at any time during the ceremony, whether it's us or again, המטופל שלנו. I'll give you an example with if you have someone that you're sitting with, a friend, of course, or whatever, you're noticing that they're just kind of sitting, laying down, listening to the music. All of a sudden, you're noticing that they're kind of going like this, or like they're just like something, and their shoulders are moving. Not really sure what it is. Obviously, something is there. So what I would suggest to do in that moment, and of course, if it's myself, then I would notice I have tightness in my shoulders. I would just start doing a body scan. Start scanning my body from toe. Usually it's good to start at the bottom. Going all the way up, traveling from my toes, staying there for a few seconds, noticing any sensations. Traveling up to the shins, then to the knees. ממש כל חלק אזור בגוף, נשארים שם כמה שניות. אם יש שם איזשהו מתח, יש שם איזשהו, is there a texture, is there a color, is there a pain, is there a temperature, ממש ככה בודקים את הגוף. ואז מגיעים לאזור הזה שהוא אולי מרגיש קצת יוצא דופן ונשארים שם. And then when you scan your body in that way, your body will reveal a lot of things to you. Again, because the energy is trapped in the body. So body scans are an amazing introspection tool and depth tool. And also sometimes when you're not really sure what's happening, you're not feeling, you want to deepen the journey, then you just do the body scan and you'll find something to focus on. Locate sensations and signals, that's what we just talked about. Allow release in all forms. הרבה פעמים אנחנו לא מרשים לעצמנו להקיא באיוואסקה ceremonies. We're afraid of it. We're blocking the emotions. We don't want to make too much noise. Usually that's what it's about. We don't want to stand out. We don't want people to look at us. We don't want to lose control. Okay? שהדברים האלו קורים, our body starts getting tense. רוצה להחזיק את הכל בגוף, ואנחנו לא משחררים. This is a good time to, again, look at our body, see where the blockage is. If I want to purge so bad and I'm feeling the nausea, what's holding me back from letting go? So basically, any type of sensations, physical sensations, are incredible tools that will lead you exactly to where you need to go. If you're just mindful, and again, זה יכול להיות טמפרטורה, פתאום קר לי, חם לי, יש לי מין נימול כזה, משהו מגרד לי המון. Every type of sensation like that, if you just focus on it for a moment, it will take you somewhere in the body, into some type of an important insight. You can also follow the music. Again, the music, especially in ayahuasca ceremonies, the Icaros, which are basically the shaman who sings the music of ayahuasca, the medicine, puts it into your DNA to dismantle the blockages. So you follow the Icaros to help them dismantle the disease. Breathing, another beautiful tool. First and foremost, as a centering technique. Anytime where you feel like you're dying, you just take a deep breath and you notice that you're alive. That right there solves 99% of the problems in any journey. So you just take a deep breath, נכון? Breathwork master, ככה זה. Plus, זה מאוד עוזר למedicine. You just take a deep breath and you send it throughout your body. It helps the medicine goes through every nook and cranny of your body. If you want to, again, to relax and to center down, you can do deep inhales and exhales through your belly, and that's centering. Or if you feel like you want to go deeper and you want to activate the medicine, you can do breath of fire. And then זה ממש יביא את המedicine ויקח אתכם מאוד עמוק. אז depending on how you use your breath, you can either, again, help it be gentle, center, or go deeper. Another amazing navigation tool. And minding physical crutches, this is actually a really big one. You really need to go pee often. You need to go pee 10 times in half an hour. או שאתם מתים מצמא, כל פעם שיש לה משהו, איזה insight is about to come, suddenly you really have to get some water. או פתאום משהו מגרד. כל הדברים האלה זה סימנים that there is either some type of a resistance, או שמשהו באמת, יש לך משהו מגרד לך שם, בברך, focus on your knee and see what wants to come up. Okay? Meta-observation, okay, דיברנו על physically, emotionally, mentally, now we're going to talk about the meta. Meta is like zooming out. וכאן אני מדברת על navigation skills through לראות דברים שהם בתוך הקונטקסט, בתוך הקונטנט של ה-journey. So for example, you really want to vision yourself zooming out and then starting to notice different details about your journey. For example, if you're seeing yourself or someone there as a child or a person, how old is the person? Where is the person? What's their location? Is there any specific time period? Is there a lifetime? You can literally ask yourself these questions when you're in some type of a vision in your journey. If you're noticing any symbols, any archetypes, you can interact with these archetypes. You can ask them questions. But every time you see a being, by the way, a being, Yeshut, Malach, Shed, Chaya, Ruach Kolshei, feel free to get in dialogue with it. ממש, לשאול אותו שאלות. מאיפה הגעת? מה אתה עושה? What have you come to share with me? What are you here to show me? What do I need to learn from you? I'm skipping. Everything that happens in your ceremony is your ceremony. כל מה שקורה, if you're doing it in a group or not, אפילו אם אתה נגיד with another one person, which is your guide or sitter, we're all sharing the same consciousness. If the person next to you is crying in their ceremony and you're sitting there and thinking, oh my God, this person is ruining my ceremony, what does this say about you? The person is being too noisy. I can't stand how noisy they are. Well, maybe this is, take all that energy back and look at yourself as to why are you so sensitive to noise that you're blaming another person for ruining your experience, basically. As everything that happens, כל דבר קטן שקורה מסביבך is a clue to what you're going through as well, and it can be very insightful for you. אני לא מאמינה שאנחנו, we're almost out of time and I haven't even gotten to the integration. מה זה? Challenging journeys. Just a moment to talk about shadow work, okay?
זה גם יכול להיות פנטזיה של גברים, לא?
לגמרי. אגב, shadow זה לא... Everything that's in our fantasies is our shadow, it's the same thing. I'm talking about shadow now. בדיוק. פה זה כל הסממנים הקלאסיים של the human shadow, human experience. יש פה greed, sexuality, demonic, חזירות, life and death, קומדיה דל ארטה, ההומור, oppression, death כבר אמרנו, creation, אוקיי? ככה בשלוף. וכן, תלוי באמת איך אנחנו מסתכלים על זה. When you think about it, everything that was just stated, what was wrong with all these different themes? Do we have to turn them into bad and negative shadow? The shadow holds a lot of valuable personal and collective wisdom. It's really an inseparable part of who we are. As I mentioned last time, it's not necessarily dark, and it's crucial for psychedelic integration. Without shadow work, there is no psychedelic integration. למה? כי psychedelic work is shadow work, period. וכמה שנבין את זה יותר מהר, both in the preparation, שנסביר את זה עם עוד פעם קליינטים שלנו או אנחנו, shadow is not bad, it's our friend. Basically everything you're going to see is shadow work. Just ברגע שנתחבר עם זה, זה כבר מונע המון צרות. Just welcome it as a friend. Another skill set strategy, dismantling resistance by creating trust. A few examples of that. Resistance. לפרק התנגדויות, תודה רבה. A few strategies for that. Okay, but we need to create trust in the experience, basically. That's what we're trying to do. הדרך להתמודד עם resistance is to create trust. So the strategies for creating trust in the experience as part of your psychedelic navigation skills. For example, setting the stage. אפשר לשרוף כל מיני herbs, burn sage, palo santo, mapacho. You can imagine like you're drawing energy from the earth. You can imagine a golden light and shield of protection around you. You can invite higher guides, and basically you're creating your space to just creating your container in a way that will really help you gain trust. Creating trust with your medicine is connecting with your teacher. You can basically invite the medicine spirit during the session I'm talking about, גם לפני וגם תוך כדי, ממש. אנחנו מרגישים כזה לא מפוקסים, מפחדים. Invite the teacher, say hello to Mother Ayahuasca, say hello to the mushroom, ask for its blessing, take it with love, listen to it. לדבר איתו, don't take things personally, then just trust. If there's any darkness, just kind of go with it.
MDMA also has spirit?
They all have spirits.
Everything has spirit. I'm really asking.
No, yeah.
Yes.
The way that I would describe it is that MDMA emphasizes your spirit a lot.
Compassion.
But it's not true for any medicine.
Traditionally, plant medicines, they're known to have their own spirits. LSD has its own wisdom. MDMA, for me, again, my interpretation is that it brings out your inner healer, and that's really the true essence of your spirit. Yeah, it's not a separate entity. Like with the mushrooms, you feel like it's a separate entity. With MDMA, it's not like that. Yeah, it's more personal. And also creating trust in yourself as becoming the healer. So some strategies for that are during the ceremony, say a prayer for yourself, say a prayer for others, give thanks, be in gratitude. Sitting in an upright position. הרבה פעמים, אתה יודע, אומרים לנו לשכב בסשן כדי שוואלה to surrender. זה לא נכון. Actually, if you sit up עם טוסיק על הקרקע, ראש מחובר לתקרה, you're sitting very straight. You're inviting the spirit to interact with you, you're staying engaged with it, and you feel like you're in control. You feel like you can orchestrate your space, you have a lot more agency, and you are more able to listen to yourself. You're better able to breathe, you're more aware of all your different senses, you remain alert, but you're very calm, and you can decide when you're working. For example, in ayahuasca ceremony, sometimes we're working really hard, we're like hanging over the bucket, we're swaying like this, and אנחנו ממש בתוך כל זה. We're taking a rest now, we can sit back for a little bit and take a breath. You have a lot of agency like that. And the medicine, that's how you basically build an alliance with the medicine. So sitting up is an amazing strategy.
Sometimes it's good to get up and move around.
Yes, as long as you're not doing it from resistance. לגמרי, כי לפעמים כל זה, it's because we don't want to sit still.
What do you mean?
Masha, אגב.
Making an alliance?
מה זה?
What did you mean making an alliance with the medicine?
Forge an alliance with the medicine. ליצור, what's alliance? ברית. ברית.
But in what way?
מה שעכשיו עשיתי הדגמה, שאם אני שוכבת לגמרי, נדמיין שנכון יש traditions שאומרים לך תשכבי לגמרי באיוואסקה, ואז מה שיקרה יקרה. תירדמי, תשני. אני אומרת, מה שאני למדתי מהמורים שלי זה דווקא, first of all, you can fall asleep, וגם אתה יכול להיחנק מהקיא שיכול לצאת לך, אתה לא תספיק לכם בזמן להקיא. Whereas where you sit up, אנחנו בדרך כלל אוהבים לשבת על כאלה כיסאות, שיש לזה משענת וזה מחזיק טוב את הגב, ואתה יושב במדיטציה, ואתה בהקשבה. And then when you're working, you can just grab your bucket, working like with a medicine. Grab your bucket, you're listening. You know, I don't know if like anyone, sometimes there's like movements that the body does naturally to help you release, so your body sways a lot or wants to shake a lot. I don't know if any of you have had that, like shaking during ceremony. Yeah, which is a very powerful tool of release. It's actually easier when you're sitting up. אז את יושבת, ואז את עובדת, את ככה עם הדלי, ואז שאת צריכה לנוח שנייה זזה אחורה. ממש ככה, וככה it's like you're sending a message to the medicine, okay, I need a break. The medicine backs off. It's true, ככה. And זו הברית שאת בונה איתו. אוקיי, חברים. Fear. מי פה לא סובל מ-fear? In the psychedelic state. לא סובלת? אין fear בכלל? כל הכבוד? No fear? Great. I suffer from fear, and so do a lot of my clients. והדרך שמאוד עוזרת לי להתמודד עם fear is personifying it. So basically, if there's any fear at all before or during the session, what can happen is, again, if you're locating the fear as a feeling, and you're locating it in the body and you're seeing that you're scared, you can turn that fear into a person. And you can start asking it questions. Who are you? Basically, who are you? What is your name? Why are you here? What have you come to show me? So you become in dialogue with it. And then when the fear starts talking to you, and it will, if you start asking it questions, it will talk to you. Then it almost makes it seem less of like, מין דבר מאיים כזה שלא ברור איך להיפטר ממנו, אלא מין בן ברית שעונה על השאלות, and at least helps you rationalize where you are, ויכול לגרום לך להבין שדווקא אין ממה לפחד, זה פשוט, here's what I'm here to show you, can I please show this to you? And then you can make a conscious, informed choice of yes, I want to, or no, I don't want to. אבל לפחות אתם לא, we're not overly consumed by the fear and just paralyzed by it.
Kind of a reality check. Kind of reality check.
Yeah. Exactly. So this is a great strategy. עוד פעם, בכלל, לחיים, כל פעם שמשהו מרגיש לא בנוח, פשוט לעצור שנייה ולזהות ולשאול, ממש לשיים את זה. לשיים את זה ולשאול אותו שאלות, ואז זה הופך לדבר שהוא לא כל כך מאיים. להעניש, תודה. And when all else fails, אם אתם לא תזכרו שום דבר ממה שאמרתי לכם עכשיו, תזכרו את זה. משהו מגיע, just say yes. You say yes, you go through, everything will work out. Okay, this is the best navigation skill.
שזה קצת נוגד את מה שאמרת בהתחלה, שכל מה שהאווסקה מביאה, אל תגידו כן כמו עיוורים, אלא כאילו...
That's one strategy if you want to get in dialogue with it, and if you have, absolutely, which I advocate for that. אבל, even just saying yes as a strategy, it's a choice that you're making. You're not just...
okay.
Right? It's more intentional. כן, בבקשה.
ההבדל, when you say just say yes.
כן?
זאת אומרת, לאפשר לזה להיות, זה לאו דווקא לשתף עם זה פעולה. זה ההבדל הגדול.
למה לא לשתף עם זה פעולה?
לאפשר לזה להיות, זה לאפשר לזה להיות, כי זה כרגע מגיע וזה ישנו, לא להתנגד לזה. לשתף פעולה זה בעצם...
להאמין לקחת את זה.
לתת לו לקחת אותי לאן שהוא רוצה, ולפעמים זה להיבלע בתוכו, וללכת לאיבוד בתוכו, ולהפוך להיות הדבר הזה, ואז כבר אתה בעצם נמצא בתוך איזה מצב של חוסר יכולת לנווט את עצמך בתוכו.
כן.
אבל אולי שם נמצא הריפוי.
אז זה בדיוק זה, שזה לא מצב של, אנחנו לא חסרי אונים. שוב, זה בדיוק מה שאני מנסה להדגיש פה, שאף אחד מאיתנו לא חסר אונים, אנחנו לא שוכבים שם ואומרים אמן לכל דבר שהמדיסין אומר. צריך לדעת מתי באמת להיות יותר ותרניים, אוקיי? Also notice who's trying, מי רוצה להיות פה בברית? האגו רוצה להיות פה בברית עם המדיסין, or that your truth רוצה להיות בברית עם המדיסין? אז גם תסתכלו על עצמכם ותעשו את העבודה בעצמכם. מי פה ולמעשה, זה באמת ה-childlike curiosity שלכם, או שהאגו is still trying to control everything by כאילו לשחרר, כאילו לתת לזה להיות, כאילו להשתתף.
נראה לי לשחרר זה ולשתף פעולה ולגמרי להתמסר זה הסוד. להגיד כן וממש לתת לזה להיבלע בדרך כלל, זה שם, בדרך כלל שם...
אז אני סליחה שאני קוטעת אותך, אני לא מסכימה עם זה, זה נוגד מאוד את כל מה שאמרתי עד עכשיו.
אני אתן דוגמה, נגיד, סתם לדוגמה, אוקיי, אם אני אעשה את זה בצורה ציורית יותר, אם יש איזושהי מפלצת שעכשיו עוברת בתוך החוויה שלי,
אוקיי.
אז לשתף פעולה זה בעצם לרכב, כי זה מה שהמפלצת רוצה, שאני ארכב עליה, והיא תיקח אותי לאן שהיא רוצה, או לאפשר לה להיות, היא פשוט נמצאת שם, ואני מתבונן וער לזה שהיא נמצאת, אבל אני לא משתף פעולה עם לאן שהיא רוצה.
אוקיי. אפשרות שלישית שאני יכולה להציע, אוקיי? זה לראות את המפלצת, להגיד לה מה העניינים, מי את, אם היא באמת מפלצת, כמו שאנחנו קוראים לה, או negative being, ממה שלמדתי מהמורים שלי, היא לא תענה, היא תתחפף. כי היא לא אמיתית.
כי בעצם את לא מתנגדת לה, ברגע שאת מתנגדת, אז אתה מעצים אותה.
אבל יש לא להתנגד שזה, עוד פעם, להישפך ולהגיד, אוקיי, אמן על הכל, ויש לא להתנגד ולהגיד, אוקיי, I see you, אבל I'm still here, and I'm going to work with you if you're going to work with me. אם זה באמת malevolent being, אז היא באמת תתחפף. כי that's the illusion, that there are no malevolent beings, and if they are, they're not going to cooperate with you. And if it is a good being, basically, אם זה רק נראה כמו מפלצת, אבל זה באמת בא ללמד אותך משהו שבאמת, זה טוב לנו ללמוד את זה, אז המפלצת כן תשתף פעולה, ופתאום היא לא תהיה מפלצת יותר. So just being in dialogue, basically. תודה. כן.
There's another really good one, is to smile.
נכון, great one. נכון, זה מאוד עוזר על כל הקולטנים בפנים, וזה מאוד משנה את החוויה, נכון. Okay, integration, finally. Alan Watts, if you get the message, hang up the phone. For psychedelic drugs are simply instruments like microscopes, telescopes, and telephones. The biologist does not sit with an eye permanently glued to the microscope. He goes away and works on what he has seen. If you get the message, hang up the phone. ולך תעבוד על זה. Okay? זה integration in a nutshell. Okay. קודם כל, למה? למה צריך psychedelic integration? Number one, your catalyst pointed the finger. Psychedelic drug is a tool, right? They showed you the door which you have to walk through, but they're not going to make you walk through that door. הם הובילו את הסוס לשוקת, עכשיו אם הסוס צמא ובאמת רוצה להרווה את צמאונו, הסוס צריך לעשות את העבודה, להתכופף ולשתות. Okay? אז the whole idea of psychedelic integration מדבר המון על הצורך של לעשות עבודה, רגע, אני אגיד את זה באנגלית. To do conscious work, to not just to allow the insights to assimilate in our cognitive structure. Assimilation meaning, אנחנו לא רוצים שהמידע שקיבלנו ייעלם לנו בתוך הפסיקיק או בתוך המוח שלנו כלעומת שבא, basically. But we want to basically bust the cognitive structure, the old one, or old psychic structure, accommodate the new information, and construct a new box for our life. So that's the idea of integration, is accommodating it, destroying the old structure, and rebuilding a new structure that is more expanded, more aligned with the truth that we've seen. And that takes a lot of conscious work, a lot of effort, like life basically. Except that integration, I feel, is just a much happier framework. And it's really an opportunity to grow your seeds of change. In this new garden box that you've just constructed, now you have an opportunity to take all these seeds and sow them, לשתול אותם באדמה ולטפח אותם עד שהם יתחילו להצמיח גינה חדשה. אז basically, אנחנו לא... We get all the information that we need from psychedelic states, but it's not the information in itself. זה לא מה שישנה אותנו. We need to do something about it. We need to work to make it happen, to manifest it. And this is my definition of psychedelic integration. A real-life recreation of the mind, the body, and the psyche as inspired by the psychedelic experience, the Geshen inspired, okay? Because again, we get the insights from the psychedelic states, but we are just inspired by them. When it involves psychological processing, accommodation of insights, and successful daily application for the purpose of individual and collective well-being and evolution. Psychedelic integration, it doesn't just benefit us as individuals, it's meant and it does benefit the collective, because when we change ourselves, we change the world for the better, and that's how we evolve in it as a human race. Amen. Woo woo. Okay. Objectives. מה המטרות של psychedelic integration? First and foremost, rebalancing and recovery. In the aftermath of the psychedelic session, I'm not saying the experience because lama, experience is everything, right? So in the aftermath of this session, there is a need to rebalance the mind, body, and the psyche, and to recover from the psychedelic state into the everyday ordinary state. The next stage would be reflection upon the psychedelic insights. We start reflecting, looking back at the insights and just viewing them for what they are without passing any judgment on them quite yet. And then we start deciphering or picking those insights that we feel most drawn to work on, and we start reframing our life to align with those new insights that we're gaining. So basically, we've seen a vision, we want to make it real into our lives. What is it about ourselves and about our lives that we have to accommodate around that insight to make that insight a reality? Okay, so we're accommodating that insight, right? Moving the different pieces of our lives to accommodate the insight. And then the bottom line, מה אנחנו רוצים integration, חוץ מכל אלה, is to optimize our lives. We want to improve our lives, we want to live happily, live freely, utilize and live our fullest potential and actualize ourselves, ושכולם יהיו self-actualized, and again, that's how we become more evolved beings. Integration in psychology theory. So again, integration is mentioned yesterday, I think. There is no psychology theory for psychedelic integration currently. Maybe this is it, I don't know. But when I put my integration theory together, I went to all these different theories to put structure to integration, right? So for example, humanistic psychology, which talks a lot about the different perspectives of the human condition. This is Abraham Maslow, right? The peak experience, doing an integrative approach, being in a person-centered approach. There are a lot of existential questions and obviously self-actualization. The transpersonal container, which talks a lot about perinatal, כל החוויות של the death and rebirth, right? הרחם, spiritual emergence, transgenerational memories, everything that's beyond the self. Jungian, of course, again, psychedelics are all about individuation, differentiation, returning to our higher self, learning to decipher all the different archetypes, doing the shadow work, engaging with the numinous, that numinous, mythical, godlike quality that is us, differentiating between the personal and the collective consciousness, and also, of course, alchemy. The alchemy of us, the psychedelic alchemy of psychedelic healing really is what it is. Psychedelic healing is alchemy by definition. We take a base metal, the base human, and turn it into gold. Okay? And then, of course, mindfulness, which is everything that we've talked about so far. Immediate integration strategy. So integration is broadly divided, actually it's divided in a few ways, but to begin, one way to approach tachlis integration is short-term and long-term. Immediately after the journey is over and long-term as life continues. So the idea of immediate integration, and I'm talking about typically within 48 hours to a week after the journey is ended, it's a rebalancing stage, and the objective is to just return to normal functionality. אנחנו לא מנסים להבין בדיוק מה קרה, אנחנו לא מנסים לתרגם שום דבר, we're not trying to practice anything, to put anything into action. It's just about rebalancing our body, mind, and spirit, to come back to baseline, to come back into good health, and grounding. Okay, grounding back into reality. And every person is, and every psychedelic is also very different. Some experiences can take a person literally, like especially really profound ones, can take maybe even a couple of weeks to ground back. 5-MeO-DMT experience sometimes take people a month to ground back. And even ayahuasca, it really does depend on the actual psychedelic and the experience. And the ceremony will last for as long as you allow it. The person can absolutely decide the moment that they walk out of the ayahuasca ceremony that their psychedelic experience is over and they're going to go eat a steak and have a cup of coffee, call it a day, and just not think about it again if they want. Is it healthy? I mean, different ways of looking at it. If their goal was just to experience ayahuasca in that moment, that's totally okay. If the goal is actually to do some therapy and healing around it with more mindfulness, then you might want to try out a different strategy. But if you make this a lifelong practice, then the ceremony never ends. And some immediate strategies. Number one, you want to measure up your level of functionality. קודם כל לראות איך התפקוד שלי. האם החשיבה שלי צלולה? האם אני מצליחה לדבר כמו שצריך? Am I very sleepy? Do I really need to sleep? I need to get some rest. Am I feeling hungry or depleted? I need to restore my energy. קודם כל להגיע לתפקוד בסיסי. There's the idea that Ben talked about a little bit, the neuroplasticity. בדרך כלל שבועיים after the psychedelic session, the brain, again, the snowflakes haven't been settled yet. The new neural pathways are still operating, they're still formed. This is a great opportunity actually to pick out and just notice that you're still in prime mode and you're highly suggestible. You're more raw emotionally, you're more sensitive. You want to really mind and choose your surroundings wisely. לא להתחבר עם כל אחד שבוע-שבועיים after a ceremony because you're going to pick up their energy a lot and there could be a lot of judgment and criticism passed on you as well. So you really want to protect your energy. And also, when you really choose who to speak with afterwards, another idea is that you really want to retain your energy as much as possible to allow the psychedelic energy ממש to bubble up ולהמשיך להתפתח בתוך הגוף שלנו. ברגע שמתחילים לדבר על ה-experience, we're already starting to muddle down the experience and we're already starting to ascribe a story to it and the story will start changing. If we keep silent about it for a little bit, for about a week or two, the story will continue to develop and unfold in a more organic, deeper way. So it's really wise to just really choose who you're speaking with, if speaking at all. And definitely don't make any big decisions or life changes. Even if ayahuasca told you to move to the jungle next week or tomorrow, don't do it. If it's a really good idea now, it's going to be a really good idea next or 3 months from now, okay? ממש, חוק מספר 1. הייתי צריכה לשים את זה למעלה. And another strategy is to follow the life pie. If, again, for example, I have some physical needs, right? Remember, there was the physical. I can focus on that in my grounding stage. If I came up with a lot of emotions in the journey, I really need to nurture myself emotionally and recover emotionally, focus on that. Right? So that's another strategy for you. Choose your life pie, see which aspects in your journey came up, and follow that protocol, as listed in the preparation phase. Long-term integration is about processing, translating, and putting things into action. Okay? סיימנו בשעה טובה את immediate grounding technique. This is very different for everyone. Some people might feel after 2 days like they're bounced back to normal and they're ready to start working on their insights. בבקשה. The objective is to implement psychedelic insights into everyday life, and really begins by understanding that every day is a ceremony, and now it's time to put the pedal to the metal. Impacted by relationship to the medicine, now you can really allow the medicine to guide you. Remember, you're still in relationship with the medicine. Just because you're not necessarily feeling it in your body or brain doesn't mean it's not there. It's always with you if you listen to it. If you journal with it, if you dream about it, if you talk to it, if you meditate on it, you will find that it will still guide you. So this is an amazing time to start developing that dialogue with the medicine spirit, the medicine being, or that inner healing intelligence, and draw out if you have any more questions about your journey, any things that were left incomplete, you need guidance, how do I move forward? Literally ask it questions through your integration practice. And some strategies for that would be, first of all, to decide if you want to transcribe the ineffable or not. אז קודם כל, יש כאילו מין, אולי מין צורך כזה בשביל כולנו, קודם כל, we really want to understand what happened and how to translate it. כן. Sometimes there really are no words to the experience. נכון? קשה להסביר. אין לי מילים לתאר את היופי שראינו, נכון? אז קודם כל, אנחנו יכולים לקבל החלטה. לפעמים שאין מילים לתאר את זה, maybe it actually means that you don't have to describe it quite yet. Okay? You can just, again, observe it, notice that you're having a hard time describing it, and make a decision to not describe it in the moment. לא כל דבר צריך להבין. בקיצור, זו אסטרטגיה שלא כל דבר צריך להבין. And if you do want to make meaning, you can make meaning out of, number one, the content of the experience, which is, התכלס, מה ראינו? ראיתי את הוויז'ן הזה של המשפחה שלי, ראיתי את עצמי בתור ילד בגיל הזה, ראיתי את היונה הזאת, את העורב הזה, שמעתי את השיר הזה וזה הזכיר לי ככה, that's content, okay? או context, שהcontext אומר, my relationship to the material, זאת אומרת, השיר הזה הזכיר לי ככה וככה, what did I feel about it in the moment? Was I feeling excited? Was I feeling nervous? Was I becoming sad? So the feeling I had and have right now towards the insight, okay, is a very powerful way to understand meaning of any psychedelic story or journey. So content, context, and then meta. Meta is the כל מיני שאלות that surround the psychedelic session itself. For example, the meta perspective, okay? Zooming out, again, מסתכלים לא רק על מה שהיה בתוך הסשן, אלא מה שגם היה מסביבו. כלומר, what happened, things that, any events that happened on my way to the ayahuasca ceremony. Where was I sitting in the ceremony, and how did I feel when I had to pick my seat, and the only seat that was left was right next to the bathroom, and that's where I had to sit the entire ceremony with people walking in and out the whole ceremony. שירים באמת שניגנו, דיברנו עליהם, שירים שניגנו, how did the shaman act in the ceremony? And even if they didn't interact with me, how did the shaman treat other people in the ceremony? When I think about it now, what do I feel about it? Did it make me again feel uncomfortable? Did I trust them? Or did I not trust them? בקיצור, כל מיני שאלות. I know we're out of time. 5 minutes, okay.
בישראל כמו שמאחרים לאחורה גם אפשר קדימה.
כן. אנחנו אמריקאים. אז בקיצור, the meta, as just ask questions surrounding the ceremony. Okay? אז ממש אפשר לבחור בין content, context ל-meta. The idea of disintegration, כמו שאמרתי, זה כמעט, it's like, כמעט חובה לעבור את זה. כמעט חובה לעבור את זה. לא שזה absolutely חובה, אבל בדרך כלל זה קורה. The idea of disintegration is again that the life almost starts falling apart when you're trying to make meaning out of your life and really trying to understand. But remember, to construct and accommodate your new insights, you have to break apart the old structure and build a new one. That means you have to disintegrate it, dismantle it, and build a new one. As just understand that this can happen, and actually it's one of the periods that can cause most confusion in the integration phase, but also a really beautiful opportunity to recreate our lives and to just experiment with new ways of being. At this stage, amping up the self-care is really important. Okay, ממש לטפל בעצמנו טוב. Excuse me, לעשות, לפנק את עצמנו, לאכול אוכל טוב, לעשות מסאז'ים, getting your exercise every day, having good people to speak with, לטפל בעצמנו טוב, because that's our centering techniques. שכל העולם סביבנו מתפרק, we need to take care of ourselves, ואז הכל עובר בהרבה יותר קלות. Okay? And of course, having professional support, again, not necessary. You can get different kinds of support, but if you want to really accelerate the process, go deeper, faster, more smoothly, having some type of professional support can help. Grounding versus activating, it's like the yin and the yang. Sometimes we might, after we finish a journey, we might feel like very high and very ecstatic and with a lot of energy, we're feeling very activated. Where then we might, in our integration strategy would be to actually choose activities that are more grounding. Okay, כי אנחנו רוצים, remember, to get back into balance. So if we're feeling with 5-MeO, for example, okay, that's very activating, the bufotode. So one strategy would be to maybe eat grounding foods like meat and potatoes. Okay? Or another grounding activity would be to walk barefoot on the earth, to feel the lawn under our feet, to go hug a tree, to do very calm breathing techniques as opposed to breath of fire, which is activating. So basically there are different activities that can be either activating to our energy or grounding to our energy, so choosing our activities in that sense. Let me just see how many slides we have left. I think we're just about, okay, 2 more slides. אז עכשיו הפורמילה של, אוקיי, קיבלנו את כל הידע הזה, תכלס, איך זה נראה? In the everyday. So, אני רוצה להגיע לסלייד הזה. This is what it looks like every day. How do you do an integration practice? I call it the DAM. Daily Action Anchor Methods. You choose your time of the day. אני מאוד אוהבת להמליץ לעשות את זה בבוקר. You choose how long you want to do it. So basically you want yourself or your client to decide how long do I want to dedicate to my psychedelic integration practice. 5 minutes a day, half an hour a day, 2 hours a day. You choose how long in the day. And then you choose 3 different practices that have to do with grounding, which is anchoring, with mindfulness, and with growth and processing. And the idea behind these practices are, and the anchor, the anchor means you want to choose activities that again are more about self-care, about nurture, about presence, תשתות כוס תה חם, לפות עוגיות בבית, לפנק את עצמנו. כשעושים את הדברים האלה, again, because it can be such a disintegrating practice as we said earlier, these are the practices that will help keep us sane. אז לבחור אקטיביטי אחד כל יום שגורם לנו להרגיש ממורכזים ומטופלים היטב. למשל, לשתות כוס תה חם. And then the next activity would be something that would promote mindfulness. Lama? Because over time the idea of integration is again to bring mindfulness to our psyche, our daily life, and the universe and everything that happens around us all the time. So a mindfulness activity can be meditation, can be a type of yoga, can be Zen, putting together a vase of flowers, can be putting beads together, ממש כמו ריפוי בעיסוק. אז לבחור activity כזה that brings more mindfulness. And one activity that has to do with growth around your experience. For example, if you learn that you really need more play in your life, and you really want to learn how to express yourself and your voice freely, one activity in your integration practice could be taking singing lessons, or just practicing singing in the shower. So singing in the shower is literally an integration practice. So basically the growth one, or the growth formula, has specifically to do with the specific insights that you received in your journey. So you choose 3 activities every day, you decide how long you want to do them for. You can also decide to change them every day. לא משנה מה, הדבר הכי חשוב is that you stick to it and you do it every day. From the chopping wood, carrying water, מהיום יום, ככה integration of it. That's the idea of ritual, that's the idea of showing up for yourself, that's the idea of, again, accommodation, of taking time to change your life, taking time to cultivate transformation, and really more than anything to show yourself self-love and self-care. A lot of the healing comes from us reparenting ourselves, loving ourselves. This is done through integration. Okay, so this formula, you can just mamash plug and play, מה שנקרא. Okay? Any questions about this one? מובן פחות או יותר? Okay? Okay, great. וזהו, לקראת הסוף ככה, what is our role, if there are professionals here, זה במיוחד בשבילכם, what's our role as integration support providers? קודם כל, אוקיי, מישהו סיים את הסשן שלו, הם באים אליכם to get integration. Your role is first of all to assess their functionality, קודם כל לראות באמת איך הם מתפקדים, נכון? מדברים כמו שצריך? Are they exhausted? Like, what do they need right now for the immediate technique? And then help them understand that. Distinguish which stage are they in. Are they in the immediate integration phase, or are they past that and now they're ready to go into the long-term integration phase? Distinguish and prioritize a life pie, right? So if they come up with all these insights, for example, they have a lot of insights around emotional healing, right? The emotional pie, give them strategies around that, or activities around that. Help distinguish between the need for grounding activities or activating activities, right? Because we want to find balance, so help them find balance in their being. Map out a long-term plan, again, depending on how long you're going to work with them for. Basically, you can outline to them, okay, based on what you're sharing with me, for example, I see that a lot of childhood trauma came up. It's okay to prepare them, to let them know that childhood trauma usually can take time to work with. Just, to kind of give them something to work with. So tell them, don't expect this to get resolved in 2 more integration sessions. This is something that I encourage you to really work on for a matter of time and give them something to hold on to. And offer concrete tools and practices, again, from either activities to resources to community integration circles, really provide them resources that would empower them. And זהו, to conclude, last but not least, when you think about it, the entire psychedelic experience is, again, really parallel to the idea of creation. When we put in our intention, we put in a resolution for change, then we go through a revolution, and then we evolve. So resolution, revolution, evolution is a psychedelic experience. Thank you very much.
תודה רבה.
Ahmed, we're really grateful to have met this beautiful community. We're really honored that you chose to spend your Friday with us. We know your time is limited, and you took your time to invest your energy and your finances. And hi, Bat. And I really want to thank these two amazing women in our lives, Batya Dezabeli וחן קקון, חן עין הבר, וכמובן הגברים שלצידם, יניב ואבנר, everyone that really made this event happen, including the guys here at שבט, שזה מקום ממש יפהפה מאוד נהנינו. Thank you so much to all of our volunteers that made this happen. פיני ונועה, הייתה עוד אחת בלונדינית שאני לא רואה אותה עכשיו, ומיכל, אמבר? Amber, okay. ממש המון תודה. Thanks to our volunteers for helping out. We couldn't do it without you.